for decades. And my challenge today is to tell you stories you've never heard. And I know I tell stories at least 20 or 30 times each. So your job today is to count the number of stories I tell that you haven't heard before. So I have a little list. And I want to thank Andrea for this lovely opportunity to have you come and see my stuff, and everybody else's. There's some beautiful things here. And also want to thank Paula Kerr, who, you know Kathy.
Yes.
Who allowed me to put some things in with her display. So that's how I met Andrea and am here. So Andrea had suggested that I talk a little bit about my history as an artist. And I actually got paid to do art for decades. And it all started with these two ladies at Pasadena City College who were theatrical makeup artists who did prosthetics and masks for the movies and for theater in the Los Angeles area. And I took a class from them, and they hired me. And I ended up being their lackey, hauling stuff around. And my fondest memories of those two was that they were chain smokers, and we did a lot of work with highly flammable materials. We made foam rubber. And for that, you have two components. You pour them in, and the foam starts, and it just everywhere on all the containers it says highly flammable, highly flammable, highly flammable. And the two of them would be talking, and they loved to joke around, talking with cigarettes dangling out of the sides of each mouth with little ashes falling into the highly flammable stuff. So I always thought the fact that I lived through that experience was meant I was meant for more in life. But once I learned how to do prosthetics and do latex masks, I did some really fun projects. So I thought I'd run through just a couple of those. Then I'd like to show you what I've been working on lately with the glass. The first thing I did was the Fromacera mask in Fiddler on the Roof. There's a dream sequence with a ghost that's about, I don't know, usually 10 or 15 feet high with great big arms. And I did her face, and she had a detached chin, and they colored her skin, the actor's skin, black in between the top of the face, oopsie, and the chin, so that when she opened her mouth and screamed, it looked like her chin was detaching from her face. So that was pretty cool. And then I did Marley's Ghost for a production of the Christmas Carol ballet with music by Mahler. It was beautiful. And Marley's ghost face appears in the door knocker. And so I did that face, and then they put an actor behind it to make the face move. And that was pretty cool. And then the Tacoma Actors Guild did a Sherlock Holmes thing where Moriarty had a den of hideous things. He had a lot of severed fingers and toes and noses and in jars. The whole set was just all this stuff. So I made all of those. And that was a great time. I think Tom was around for that. And then I made an animatronic John Wayne. I modeled John Wayne's face, and this man had put the mechanics to go behind it, and did displays and presentations for supermarket openings and stuff like that. So that was pretty fun. And I think the real tippy top wonderful experience I had with the mask making was with Maurice Sendak. Did the sets for the Nutcracker for the Seattle Ballet, and in the year before they opened that, before they got that production up and running, they did Where the Wild Things Are. And one of my friends wrote the music for that ballet, and I did the masks, and I got to meet Maurice Sendak, and it was a big whoop-de-doo in my world. It was really, really cool. So that's really kind of my background in doing art that I actually got paid money for. And I also did, design sets and painted sets and did some other things like that. But I think the mask making probably more directly relates to this. I've also done some porcelain painting that Kathy got me started on that I've really enjoyed over the years, and that's how I got the kiln that brought me to doing this stuff. So this stuff, there are a couple of different new things I'm trying that you can see here on the items that are on that display, which are, they're about Egypt to me. That's kind of what they evoke, at least in my mind. And what I've done there is etched dichroic glass. So dichroic glass has metal on it, on the surface, and I etched the places where you can see that there's black showing through the shiny part is where I etched a pattern. For instance, in the one, I think the necklace on the left, in the center piece, I etched an ibis. So that's an ibis perched on a reed or something, some plant. And then the other thing that I did that was unique in that set of items is the larger piece there in the front is what they call slumped glass, which means that I melted it over the top of a form to get it to shape like that. And lots of people slump glass. Very common thing to do, but not lots of people slump glass that has dichroic surface on it. So you can see how that moved when the glass heated up and made kind of a unique presentation there. So that's what I'm working on with that, and I have miles to go before I sleep with that particular process, I think. And if you look at these pieces over here, this is something I discussed at length with Bob here lately. Oh, and I have to say, the most important thing to say about this is Bob cut the post that's behind one of those things holding it up. So without Bob, it wouldn't be here today. All I can say. So over here, you see woven glass, and that I love that, and I had seen pictures of it and thought, how on earth did they do that? And have worked the last month or so here to figure it out. And when it push comes to shove, when it comes down to it, it's to my way of thinking, a simpler process than you would think it is, but more painful than I wanted it to be. It's not, that's all I can say. That would be my description of it. So there you have it. And then the only other bit of things that I have a couple more pieces hidden away here, but I love the ocean, I love the water, I love the sea, and these I had done before I ever met Andrea, but they evoke the ocean. And that involves cutting lots of pieces of glass and filling in the blanks with some crushed glass, which is called frit. So that's kind of a fun process too. Anyway, that is my entire speech. That you lived through it, and thank you for listening. Anybody have any? Did I tell you anything you didn't know already?
Yeah.
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 Oh, good.